So let's see what we can do with all these sounds and all this processing. This session has a short snippet of underscore with half a dozen instances of gravity, all of which have been slightly tweaked. The first sound is a hit, complete with its own build-up, the whoosh, and tail from the hit's full menu. I've set the length of the whoosh to its maximum, but since I don't want the sound to enter too abruptly, I'll slow down the ADSR's attack. Even though I'm only using the one note from this menu, I'll turn off link first, just in case I might change my mind and want to double up on this instance and use another hit from another key as well. I'll also tweak the release, so the tail hangs on a while, even while the next sound comes in. I thought the impact layer from this hit would make a good kick drum sound if I trimmed the tail. So for the next track, I've loaded up just the Hits Impacts menu and located that same hit. To tighten up the sound, I'll lower the sustain level to get rid of the scratchy bit and shorten the decay and the release. I'll tune it down for a more solid thump. Then to pump it up, I'll turn to the global effects. I'll add a little reverb, a large plate, and set the size and mix for a clean thump with just a bit of tail. I'll also enable delay and add some width, and a bit of distortion. I'll crank the overall volume to compensate. So the initial whoosh and hit segues into this rhythm. Next up is a pad, which will provide a pedal tone that'll run through the piece. I'll add a little rhythmic interest by programming a 16th note pulsing pattern and a resonance sweep into the TFX filter's sequencers. I'll set slower attack and release times for the TFX envelope, so when I trigger the filter T-effect from G6, it won't kick in and out too abruptly. I'll also add a faster sequence to the distortion T-effect, which will kick in from F6 after the filter sequence starts running for an additional swell. As the pulsing fades out, I want the pad's pedal tone to swell a bit, so I'll assign the global effects distortion to a MIDI controller, CC1 mod wheel. At the same time as this happens, I want the kick drum track to start to recede back into the distance, so I'll also assign the reverb mix knob in that instance to another controller, CC4 foot control. With those swells recorded into the DAW sequencer tracks, now both effects are automated. For the final build-up, I chose a riser. I found one I liked in the riser full menu, but then I decided I wanted to swap out one of the layers, so I loaded up the riser breakout menu that contains that particular riser. In the designer page, with the learn function enabled, I tried a few different synth samples and settled on the one on E2 to replace the original synth layer on C2. I shortened the build-up to 4 bars. For the final hit, I combined a hit, including a 1-bar whoosh, with 2 sting notes from the same menu for an extra tail. And all together, Next up, I'll move on to the motion page, Gravity's comprehensive multi-pattern sequencer.